Welcome to the Mind of Business Success podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Cramer. We're going to talk about your bottleneck in your business with our guest, Lauren, today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alicia. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. So now I gave you a little bit of a disclaimer that I am not the best. One of my weaknesses is name pronunciation.
Yes.
So since I sort of didn't do your name entirely correct, let's have you, because it rolls off your tongue in your native French accent.
Yes.
Share with us, what is the correct pronunciation, first and last name?
You did a good job, actually. My name is Laurent Notin.
Okay. And now, for everybody listening, and those of you who may be reaching out, because this is going to be a great episode and you're going to deliver so much value, he's so good about the fact that individuals like myself and possibly some of you listening who will want to reach out, we are not that great all the time at pronounce pronunciation. And so
Hmm.
um, it's a mindset thing, which we're going to get into, right? It's a mindset thing. People are afraid. In fact, there's actually research that I've read where people will choose to do business in some cases with someone or even work with a salesperson based on how comfortable they feel with somebody's name. That's
Really?
so interesting
Oh, wow. I didn't know. I
because
didn't know that.
we are creatures of
Yeah.
like avoiding uncomfortable stuff.
Oh,
And,
that.
we don't
Yeah.
like rejection. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And so, hey, I'll just avoid that. And that's why I'm putting out a little disclaimer for you in advance. Same with
So
me.
you did not avoid the conversation with
Yeah,
me.
right, exactly. Same with me. What was it? My first grade teacher
Uh-huh.
was still mispronouncing my first name the last day of school.
Wow.
I remember thinking to myself as a little kid, it's the last day of school and she still doesn't know how to say my name. And then you just learn, let it roll. Don't
Yeah.
take it personal.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a dog, an Australian Shepherd, and you know, every time we go back home, it's like he's so happy to see us, like it's the first time that he saw us. And then he spent his time doing nothing, but it is a good reminder of how we spend as human beings time. We take life too seriously. If you look at your dog, if you have a dog, even if you have cats, or if you don't have a dog, look at the other dogs, how they behave. They take life as it is, Oh, granted, they don't have the same conscience of themselves that like we do. But we take our life so seriously sometimes. It's just unbelievable. We put ourselves into situations just because, yeah, like you said, we don't want to deal with that person because I cannot pronounce the name, or I don't want to deal with that person because 10 years ago that person did something to me that was really, really, really bad. You know, and and it's all about it, it, being an because we're going to talk about entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about mindset, but it's all about being an entrepreneur. It's all about accepting that it's gonna be painful, but that's part of a process. So get out of your comfort zone. Don't take it too seriously because there are things that are more serious than building a company. Even though it is very serious, it's your baby, but it's not necessarily a question of life or death every time. Just accept the pain because you're going to progress through the pain.
Let's use this as the perfect jumping off point to
Mm,
talk a bit about how the entrepreneur is oftentimes the bottleneck in
absolutely.
their own business. And
Yes.
sometimes it's even cliche, but there's so much truth to it. Let's get into that. Why do we do this?
This is a great question. I think part of the answers is because, as an entrepreneur, you want it to be perfect. It's your thing. You put your sweat, your tears, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs, myself including, who have cried at sometimes, and you put your blood into it. So you want to make sure that it is great, and so it's very difficult sometimes to let go. Uh, and also, as an entrepreneur, you build. There's different stages, right? At the beginning, you do everything yourself because you don't have your resources are limited. Maybe you have a couple of co-founders with you, maybe not. But you certainly cannot afford, for most businesses, you can't afford to hire someone and start delegating, right? So you do everything yourself. And you grind, you grind, you grind, you grind. And a lot of entrepreneurs, they keep that mentality throughout the journey. And as a result, they become the bottleneck because one, they cannot let go, as I was mentioning. Two, they might want to control everything, uh, because at the beginning they were controlling everything. So if they lose control, they feel like maybe it won't go into the right direction. Um, Three, they might tell themselves some lies like, I'm the only one to do it. Nobody can do it better than me. So hey, I'm just going to keep doing it. Uh, and other things that I see, for instance, they might also another thing that I see is that their role don't evolve as the company grows. But you cannot run a company of at the beginning, of 1 to 2, 3 staff, the same way you run a business of 50, 100, 200 staff. So you constantly have to question yourself and the way you do things.
So this evolution
Yeah,
is oftentimes stagnated by fears and insecurities and limiting beliefs and all of
yeah,
those things that
absolutely.
you've touched on. What what can someone do when they maybe don't know what their blind spots are? They
Mm,
don't know what they're doing that's creating the stagnation, but they're very acutely aware that they are the bottleneck. They are the problem. There is something going on internally that is manifesting externally in their business, in their company. Where do you guide someone to begin this process of getting unstuck, getting out of their own way?
yeah. The first thing is like you said, you have to be acutely aware. So that's a starting point. If you're not aware, or if you refuse to look at the truth, then there's nothing I can do for you. So it all starts with self-awareness, realizing that there is a problem and that you might be the problem. In most of the cases, you are. Uh, and then telling yourself, okay, let's imagine I am the problem. It's me. The reason why my business is not going where I want it to be, it's because of me. Then what can I do about it? But that's really the base. It's that awareness. Now, of course, I would say you can reach out to a coach like me, obviously, but there's also something else that is easier to do. So reach out to people. It's unbelievable the number of entrepreneurs that I know who uh, are never have like are never would never get their performance assessed by their staff. It's what I call a reverse performance review. It's not only entrepreneurs, actually. A lot of leaders in companies are the same. At the end of the year, most of the time, sometimes twice a year, there's always like a performance review for the staff, right? Everybody finds that normal. It's part of the process. But hold on. What about reviewing your leader? What about reviewing the person at the top of the pyramid, the founder? Because if you cannot see, you cannot see your blind spot. You can't see them. So who can identify the blind spots for you? Right? Again, a coach, of course. But before that, people you know, people you work with all the time, your staff, stakeholders, shareholders, maybe some of your clients, maybe other peers, right? So reach out to people. Don't stay alone, and really ask for genuine feedback. But that requires to be open to such feedback. That's also could be quite difficult for entrepreneurs because the ego with entrepreneurs can be quite strong. It can be quite, but that's okay. That's good to have a strong ego because it's also something that helps you moving forward. But sometimes it's really important you sit on your ego and you listen to what other people have to say about you. So this is where I would start.
I recently put out an article that was talking about the value of desensitizing ourselves to rejection is
Mhm.
so important as we are out there doing sales, but it's also incredibly important for this very reason that you just spoke about. We are unwilling to have our ego hurt.
Yeah,
And that unwillingness, because we don't want to accept the pain, we don't want to feel the pain, we don't want to acknowledge, hey, I suck at that.
yeah,
Hey, I'm really emotionally immature in that area. Um, as though by avoiding it, it's not there. And that's no different than the addict who is in denial
mhm.
because things can't get better if we don't address them correctly. And so that article, I'm walking through different techniques and tools that are scientifically proven to help you to desensitize that. And I think that this is one of those areas where sometimes we just need to sit down and we need to have a little bit of a heart to heart with ourselves and get really honest. What are we afraid of? What are we afraid that we're going to find out about ourselves? And process out some of that fear so that we can be open to that constructive feedback, which can only help us and our business.
Yeah,
Now I'm curious,
absolutely.
maybe you've got some different tools and techniques that you use with your clients that help them overcome that resistance.
While you were talking, I was thinking about my favorite question. One of my favorite questions is, "What are you waiting for?" And so, in the process of coaching, first you explore the issue, then you talk about potential options, then you make a plan, right? And then at the end, I always have a question, which is, okay, when do you start? What are you waiting for? Every time, every time, the answer is, nothing. There is nothing in their way. Like when you start really going deep and you have really analyzed what's really going on, and you have gone through those limited beliefs or whatever it is that was blocking those bottlenecks, there's nothing in the way. The thing is this, that we all have the answers inside us. That's what my job is, to simply, I don't give the answers. I just simply guide my clients to find the answers by themselves because I know they have the answers in them. What they need is a shift in perspective. That's what I bring as a coach. I bring opportunities to think differently, to look at a situation from a different angle. And that is really, really important for entrepreneurs to do that, because we're so much close to operations all the time. We are like our head against the wall. So it's really important to take a step back, to elevate yourself and look at the big picture, especially at the top, because the top is the only um, place where you have a 360-degree view on what's going on. Everybody who is under you has a narrower picture than you, a narrower perspective.
Now, for that individual who is listening, who is thinking
Mm,
to themselves, I probably have some bottlenecks, but I don't feel
yeah.
like it's that big of an issue right now. I'd like to address that because that's a trick that the mind plays in every area of our life. It's not that bad yet, or it's not that bad now. And so let's just put it off because that seems like work and that seems like stuff I don't really want to have to look at or deal with or whatever. And then it has that tendency to get far worse
Mm,
until we reach that point where we can't tolerate it anymore. I'm curious if
yeah.
you have any advice for someone who's listened this far into our interview and they're sitting right there on that fine line.
Yes.
What guidance would you give to someone who is in that place right now?
It reminds me one time an entrepreneur told me, I think it was on LinkedIn. I wrote a post about delegating because I write a lot about delegating. That person wrote to me and said, I'm really good. I'm already really good at delegating. Oh, okay. I wanted to say, challenge accepted. We can always do better. But the thing is, we are humans and it takes a bit of self-experimentation before being in a place where you are able to accept that you need external help. People will try things. They might start reading books. They might attend conferences. They might reach out to consultants. Different things. But at one point, it's nothing is helping anymore, right? And this is where you need to realize that you need to be able to accept help and need to realize that perhaps it is time to try something new. Now, how do you get there? That's really that. I think this is like for everybody is a bit different. I would say it's like a very personal journey. If I take the example of myself, uh, in my previous work, I had a very bad experience when I was working after 9 years in a company. Um, I reached and I reached a point where I was not thinking clearly anymore. I was so tired. I was so exhausted that I had to resign. That was the only way forward. When I resigned, I felt relief, you know? But now I think about it and I'm like, damn, I should have done it before. But I was so much in the grind. I was so much trying to achieve something with what I had. I was trying so much to solve the situation with the tools that I had that I was not ready to listen to anybody, you know? And that's really the tricky part. And again, I think it all comes down to self-awareness. It all and also, if I may add something, it's also about having the right priority in your life. All entrepreneurs that I know, they would put work above everything else. I used to do the same. And when you're young, it's easy, you're like all this enthusiasm, you're very energetic, bam, 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 work, 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 grind, grind, grind. But that's not the right approach. You should never jeopardize your health, mental health, and physical health for work, even though it's your company. It's not worth it. It's never worth it. I know a client of mine who, had was very successful, sold this company for a lot of money, doesn't have to worry about money anymore. But he went into all sort of health issues right after. I asked him the question one day. So I said, "Was it worth it?" And he said, "No." He's lost so much of his time. He hasn't seen his kids growing up, so now he's making up time for it. But now also he's gonna have to be extra careful about his health, both mental and physical, for the rest of his life. And he's 50, 55 or something like that. So I think if you prioritize health first, you will reach a point where it has to go. You have to pull the plug before you go to the other side. That's what happened to me. I did a burnout after. I didn't know it was a burnout, but I realized it was a burnout when I read about it. It was not worth it. Honestly, what did that bring to me? The situation I was in, it brought nothing to me. It brought uh too much because I had to compensate. My family life was crap. Work life was crap. Yeah, I had a lot of money, but I was not using it. So, what's the point? So look at your health. Look at your health. Be aware of what's going on, and then don't hesitate to pull the plug because it's not worth it.
This is the perfect time for me to
Mm,
ask, how can our listeners connect with you and go deeper?
of course. So they can connect. Well, I have a website, laurentnotin.com. They can reach out to me on LinkedIn. On my website, they will be able to find an ebook that is about tactics to help thrive as an entrepreneur. Very practical. Everything I do is really, really practical. I hope you got that from what I was when I was talking today. And I also offer coaching discovery sessions if they ask by email on LinkedIn.
Excellent. This has been a powerful episode. I'm sincerely hoping that some people are inspired to be more self-aware so that they can get themselves out of this bottleneck situation before it escalates into something much bigger. So, thank you so much for being with us today, sharing your story and sharing your wisdom.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you, Alicia.
And thank you to everyone who has joined us today. You know, we're doing this for you. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so. And until next time, we will see you in the next episode.